position today. So however you feel most comfortable, you might pop a prop underneath your hips to give you a little bit more height. You might not feel comfortable sitting cross-legged, so you can have your legs out in front, just kind of whatever works for you. But allow your spine to feel nice and tall. So whatever you're sat on, you really feel that lift as the sit bones kind of press into that prop and the rest of the spine reaches up and away. And then rest the hands wherever's comfortable. That could be the knees, it could even be the heart space, whatever you feel best. Allow the shoulders to gently move down and away from the ears as you softly close those eyes. And we take the first few moments here to just arrive onto our mat. An opportunity to let go of your day. You might take a couple of sighing exhales, just to really feel the weight of your day slip away and melt into the floor. Bringing your awareness into your body. How is it feeling right now as you arrive on your mat? And we all arrive on our mat to practice for various different reasons. So notice if there is something particular that you're looking to find through your practice tonight. Perhaps creating a soft intention. And allow your awareness to arrive on the breath. Notice each inhale and each exhale. You might be breathing through the nose. You might have a combination of breathing through the nose and also breathing through the mouth. We allow our breath to just gently invite us into the body. Breath is the beginning of our practice. Can be a really useful tool as we move through our flow, as a way to kind of bring our awareness, our attention back to the space that we're in. That might be by listening for the sound of your breath. It might be by noticing the movement in the body created by the breath. So know that you always have that as we move through the practice. You can always draw your attention back to that breath. Maybe they start to get a little bit deeper, a little bit longer and fuller. With each inhale, perhaps we can feel or imagine that the spine is growing a little bit longer. And with each exhale, the whole body relaxes. Last few rounds here before we begin to move. Seeing if we can carry that intention or that awareness of our breath through our practice up until the point we reach our Shavasana. It might even continue into the rest of our evening. From here, we'll be moving into Child's Pose. So you might choose to keep your eyes closed, or you might gently open your eyes so that you can just guide yourself over onto your knees. You might choose to keep your knees together. You might separate them so that they're kind of towards the edges of the mat. But allow that torso to drop forward. Maybe the forehead finds the floor, maybe it's floating away. You could also slide a prop underneath your forehead for a little bit of support. And once again, notice the breath here as you arrive. Can you feel the breath moving into the back space, into your ribs, your low back? Okay, and then from here we're walking both hands over to the left-hand side of the mat. They might even arrive on the floor. So walk both of your arms over to the left. Keep pressing the palms into the floor. We're looking for a nice long stretch down the side body. Take an inhale. And then as you exhale, walking those hands all the way back through center, and then they're going off and over to the right-hand side of the mat, or maybe they arrive on the floor. And we take a little press down through those palms to get that sense of length down one side of the body and a shortening down the other side. Take a deep breath in. And then as you breathe out, gradually creeping those hands all the way back to center. We're going to slide forward into a Sphinx pose from here. So if we lift the gaze, looking towards our hands, really outstretch your arms and then start to creep your body forward as if you're coming into a tabletop. And then from there, we extend the legs back and drop the hips down and we arrive in our Sphinx pose. So we're propped up gently on the elbows, spreading the fingers, a little bit of a push down into the forearms to help lift the chest. And we'll just take some neck movements here. So just gently moving your head left to right, just isolating that cervical spine. If this feels like it's cramping or you're getting any weird pains, then you might just keep your gaze facing forward. Good, and back to center. From here, we'll lower all the way down onto our chest. I'm going to do some Cobra Lifts with the hands behind the head. So bring your body down. We gently rest the fingertips at the back of the head, elbows float away from the floor. And we're just lifting the upper body. So as you inhale, like you're doing a sit-up, we lift the upper body, chest, rib cage away from the floor, and as we exhale, we lower down. We'll take that 5 more times. So inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Engage the legs. Exhale, lower, but keep them on the mat. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. And again, lift. And lower. Last one, lift. And lower. Good. From here, bring your hands next to your rib cage, palms down onto the mat. Hug those elbows in towards the ribs. Start to lengthen the crown of the head forward as we lift into a baby cobra. And we might choose to stay here, or we might then put a little bit more weight into the hands and lift the torso a little bit higher away from the floor. Breathing in, breathing out, lower all the way back down. We're coming onto our hands and our knees from here, so we can keep the hands where they are, push them into the mat to help lift the chest, and then rearrange your legs so that the knees are kind of vaguely underneath the hips and the hands are just about underneath your shoulders. Spread those fingers nice and wide. Before we move into cat-cow here, let's just find some weight through the wrist. So shifting the weight forward and then shifting the weight back into that neutral position. So as the weight goes forward, we're trying to keep the whole of the palm down onto the floor, just to get that little bit of the stretch through the wrist, through the forearms. Keep spreading those fingers. Last one. Forwards and back. Good. On your next inhale, we find our first cow belly. So the tailbone begins to lift, the abdomen sinks to the floor as the chest space and the gaze lifts. And as you exhale, we find the opposite shape, so we draw everything in. Chin finds the chest, we round through the back. We're in our angry cat. Let's do that a couple more times. So inhale, cow belly lifting the heart. Exhale, angry cat rounding. And again, inhale, open. And exhale, push through the palms. Good, come back to center, so kind of a neutral spine. We're tucking the toes underneath. We gradually creep our way back into Malasana. So from here, walk your hands back and then start to push more weight onto your feet. As we arrive in Malasana at the back of the mat, you might have to do a little bit of rearranging with your legs once you get there. Toes can point forward, toes can point out. The heels might still be lifted here, that's absolutely fine. Hands could be on the floor. If we feel comfortable and strong in the back, we might bring the hands to the heart space. 3 deep breaths. Inhale, allow the pelvis to feel heavy. Exhale. And again, inhale. Exhale. Last one, inhale. As we exhale, tip forward. Find your first forward fold at the back of the mat. So as the body drops forward, you might keep your feet wide. You might choose to wriggle them a bit closer together. I would encourage you to keep a soft bend in the knees here, just as we're closer towards the beginning part of our practice. Just gradually waking up those hamstrings. You could take any movements here. That might be moving the hips side to side, swaying the torso, moving the head, grabbing the elbows, anything that you need here. Just a couple of breaths. Notice how your back, how your spine feels here today. Good. Okay, so from the back of the mat, bring your feet about hip distance apart. We'll find a gentle chair pose here, just to wake up the legs. So bending into the knees, lifting the body slightly as we reach those arms forward. So for our chair pose, we want to feel like we're kind of perching on the edge of a stool or a chair, which kind of just behind us. Inhale. Exhale, come back into your forward fold. We'll do that a couple of times. Inhale, chair pose, bend the knees. Exhale, forward fold. Good. Inhale, chair pose, back nice and strong. Exhale, forward fold. One more. Inhale, chair pose. This time as we fold forward, I'm going to plant the palms down and we're walking out into a downward dog so the feet can sort of stay where they are as we pad the hands forward, arriving in a downward dog. Make any adjustments that you need once you get there. If that's walking on the spot, please feel free to do so. Pedaling the feet. Check in with your hands. Are those fingers still spread wide? Can we feel as much contact with the floor through the hands as possible? We'll stay for 3 breaths. Breathing in. Breathing out. And again, breathing in. Breathing out. Last one, breathing in and breathing out. On your next inhale, lift the heels, so coming high up onto the balls of the feet. As we exhale, as if you're coming back into tabletop, so we bend the knees, but we keep them a couple of inches away from the mat, so they're just hovering away from the floor. Good. Inhale, back up into down dog and push those heels back down. Do that again. Inhale, lifting the heels. Exhale, knees come to a hover. Inhale, lift back up. Downward dog. Exhale, drive the heels down. This time we'll come into plank. So inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, roll through the spine. And we find high plank. If you're not super comfortable in your high plank, or your wrists don't feel ready, then bring your knees down. You can take a half plank position. 3 breaths. 1, 2, and 3. Let's send those hips back up. Downward facing dog. We'll add on one more time. We'll just come through a small vinyasa. So inhale, lift the heels, unroll forward to find your plank. We'll bring the knees down here for this first chaturanga. So find your half plank. And then as you bend the elbows, they gently graze past the rib cage. Untucking the toes, inhale as the chest space reaches forward for our cobra. And then tucking the toes, hips send themselves up and back, downward facing dog. Good. Take an inhale. Take an exhale. On this next breath in, we're sweeping that right leg for a 3-legged dog. Don't worry about how high it's going, and maybe you choose to keep it parallel so the toes and the right knee are still pointing down towards the mat. Take a breath in, and as you're taking your exhale, to feel the weight of the feet down into the floor. The right foot might feel like it's pushing forward, left foot kind of pressing back. Breathing in. On your exhale, left foot steps forward to meet the right foot. Bend both knees. We're coming into chair pose, this time at the top of the mat. So we're sweeping arms forward. Imagine we're perching ourselves on that chair. Inhale, coming all the way up to Tadasana. Exhale, dive forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift the hands, slide up the shins as the spine lengthens. Now either step straight back to downward dog, or we can take a vinyasa here. So for your vinyasa, we'll plant the palms down, step the legs back. Chaturanga as we bend the elbows. Inhale, cobra, or maybe an upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's go straight on the second side. Inhale, lifting the left leg, three-legged dog. Drive up through that left heel. When you're ready, come forward into plank, bring the knee with you, and then step the left foot in between the hands. Take a moment here to find your lunge. So really power back through that right leg, pushing the feet into the floor. Taking your inhale. And on your exhale, right foot steps to left foot. The knees stay bent as we find our chair pose. Back nice and strong, thighs nice and strong. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, press the hands into the shins. Exhale, take our Vinyasa, bring the hands down, step back, high plank. Knees could be on or off, it's totally your choice. As you bend the elbows, lower the chest down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Just do that one more time, using this as our sun salutation, just to get the blood moving, get the body warm. So inhale, lift the right leg, three-legged dog. Exhale, draw that knee forward, step that foot in between the hands. Find your lunge, take an inhale. Exhale, left foot steps forward. Uttanasana, chair pose as we bend both knees. Inhale to stand, lengthen. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Moving through our Vinyasa, bringing the hands down, step back, high plank. Chaturanga, elbows bend. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, meeting in downward dog. Okay, last one on the left side. Inhale, lift the left leg, three-legged dog. Exhale, come forward into plank and step that left foot towards the hands. Find your lunge on your inhale. Exhale, right foot comes to step next to the left foot. Bending the knees, chair pose. Inhale, Tadasana. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let's take a Vinyasa. You can skip the Vinyasa if you like. Go straight back to downward dog. Take your time through this movement, any variations. Good. Take 2 breaths once you arrive in your down dog. Remember, you can rest whenever you need to. All the postures and the movements that I offer are really just options. So you kind of take and leave what you need. So from here, we'll step to the top of the mat. So bend your knees, step or walk your feet forward. And we'll come up to standing. So maybe roll through the spine, or you can come up through a straight back. Gently roll the shoulders back and down. So we'll come through a little prep sequence before we do our main longer sequence, which we'll try and do twice through. So starting with the balance, you're going to stand on the right leg, gently draw your left thigh up towards you. We can either keep the hands at the hips and the thigh a little bit lower, or we might feel able to take the hands around the front of that left shin and squeeze it up a little bit higher in towards the chest, making sure that we're not kind of leaning back or collapsing forward. We're still keeping that sense of space. Good. I'm going to open that left leg out to the side. So regardless of whether you've got it with your hand or it's a little bit lower down, we open it out as if we're going to come into a tree pose. So left leg out to left side. But from here, we step straight back to warrior 2. So release that leg. Nice, gentle step back with your left foot and open those arms out nice and wide. So our body is facing the long side of the mat. Our front leg should be our right leg, and that knee wants to be bent. Holding for a deep breath in and holding for a deep breath out. Legs stay as they are as we take reverse warrior. So inhale, the right arm is reaching up towards the ceiling. Left hand's just gently supporting you down on your left leg. Keep your core nice and strong, keep your glutes nice and strong. Great, inhale back through to warrior 2. This time as we exhale, a gentle extended side angle, so that right forearm just comes to rest on the right thigh as the left arm reaches up towards the ceiling. You might choose to look down towards the floor. Equally, you might choose to look up towards the ceiling, just kind of anything that feels comfortable for your neck. One more inhale. As you exhale, start to bring your left hand down towards the floor, and then bring your right hand down as well, framing that front right foot. We're in our lunge. Two options. We can either step back to a regular plank, or we hover that right foot next to the left, so we come into a one-legged plank. So really squeezing that core. Lovely. And then you're either moving back into down dog, or you're shifting into three-legged dog and keeping that right leg lifted. Lovely. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. If you've got the leg lifted, plant it down next to your left, come back into your regular down dog. And then as you bend both knees, look forward, step, walk or take a little hop towards your hands. I'm going to roll up to standing, so nice soft bend of the knees, gently uncurling, head comes up last, shoulders roll back and down. So let's do that short sequence on the left side. So this time we're standing on the left leg and we're going to be lifting the right leg. So start with it a little bit lower down, catch your breath and get your balance here, with the option of staying here or taking your shin, your right shin in your hand and drawing it a little bit closer. So increasing that compression here in our hip flexor, increasing the sense of length and stretch here we're finding in our glutes. And then just taking that leg in the right hand as we open it out towards the side as if we're coming into a tree pose, trying to just isolate that thigh, so not letting the rest of the body turn with you. And then let that leg go as you step back, warrior two. So the right foot finds the back of the mat and you can have a little rearrange of your feet. Arms open out nice and wide once you arrive. Take a moment to pause. And then for your reverse warrior, the legs stay as they are. So that left arm is just scooping up, right hand just gently placing a little bit of weight on your leg, not too much, especially if you're around near the knee. Inhale, coming back up, warrior two. Exhale, gently allow your left forearm to tip to the left thigh, right arm reaches up towards the ceiling. Keep your body nice and strong and open, pushing the feet into the floor. Good, one more deep breath in. As you breathe out, that right hand's coming down towards the mat, as is the left hand. And then either a regular plank or a one-legged plank as that left foot hovers next to the right. Try not to let the hips stick up here, so you want a nice long line. Good, and then either into a regular down dog or a three-legged dog as you push back, that left leg lifts. Take an inhale. And exhale, find your downward dog, both feet on the floor. Good, take a nice deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Bending our knees, looking forward. Step, walk or hop our feet to the top of the mat. Halfway lift as we breathe in. Forward fold, breathing out, coming all the way up to standing, push through the feet. Let's draw those arms up and overhead. Exhale, gently bring the hands to the heart space. Okay, so as we move into our longer sequence, it's going to start the same. There's going to be a few directional things that hopefully won't be too confusing. I'll try and describe them as best I can. So lifting the left leg as we did before, either keeping it low down or taking the hands around that shin, squeezing it in nice and tight. Good, take a deep breath in. Exhale, we open that leg out to the side as we did before. Take an inhale, and then exhale, we step back, warrior two. So we're still in the same prep sequence to start with, but we're going to change it up from here. So we're in warrior two, we've got our front leg, which should be our right knee, is bent at the moment. We're shifting to Dandasana towards the back of the mat. So as you straighten your right leg, turn the toes in a little bit, and then turn your back left toes out. Start to bend your back left knee, and we're trying to come as low down to the floor as we can. You can lift this left heel, so it doesn't have to be down on the floor, can be lifted, and that can often give you a little bit more depth. Hands can stay on the mat, they can be lifted. Keep pressing down through those feet. Take an inhale and an exhale. Now you might need to use your hands for this next transition. We're going to try and sit down onto our bum. So maybe putting a hand behind you as you come to sit your bum down. You can have a little reshuffle with that left leg. We're going to keep reaching that right hand behind. We're doing almost like a variation of a wild thing. So this right leg stays straight. Your left knee is bent. Your left foot's in the floor. And as we push, we lift, lift, lift. So I'm driving the left hand up towards the ceiling And pushing down through the left foot and the right, outer right foot. Good, and then lower the hips all the way down. You're gonna come to Dandasana. So if you allow your left foot to meet your right foot, so we should be sat down facing the top of the mat with our legs nice and long. If you haven't got enough space behind you, just scoot yourself forwards a bit. Bring your hands to the mat behind you, hopefully with your fingers pointing forward. If that's uncomfortable, you could turn the hands out. And we're gonna point the feet, engage the legs. So think about squeezing your quads. We're taking a reverse plank, so driving down through those heels. If reverse plank doesn't feel good for your back, we can take reverse tabletop with the knees bent. We'll stay for 3 breaths. 1, 2, and 3, lowering the hips all the way back down. And coming back up to seated, back up to Dandasana. So a bit of a tricky transition now. We're going to try and come almost back into that Skandasana, but not quite. So we're bending the left knee like it was before, turning ourselves open to face the long side of the mat. And our arms are going to keep turning. We arrange ourselves so that we face the back of our mat and we're in a runner's lunge. And we should have our left leg in front. Yes, don't worry if you can no longer see me. Just take a moment here to pause. Good, breathing in. And breathing out. Now planting your palms down, same as we did in the prep sequence, either a regular plank or a one-legged plank. So slide that left foot back to the right, next to the right. Good, and then plant it down, lift hips, downward facing dog. So we're in downward facing dog, facing the back of the mat. Lovely, take an inhale, take an exhale. We'll step the right foot forward in between our hands. We're coming up to high lunge. So keep your back knee and your back heel lifted as you press down through the feet, facing the back of the mat in our high lunge. Good, and then we're opening out into a goddess squat. So turn towards your left, turn your feet out, bend your knees, slide down that imaginary wall behind you. Yes, lovely. If your knees feel like they're collapsing in, really think about the outer edges of your glutes to keep those hips nice and wide. Good, deep breath in. Deep breath out. Now as we shift back to the top of the mat, we're going to go straight into the second side. And we should end up ready to go straight to the second side. So what I'd like you to try and do is come to stand at the top of the mat, but bring the right thigh with you and come straight into that balance, holding onto the shin with your hands. So you're holding the right shin with your hands. Pushing down through that standing left leg. Good, take a deep breath in. Exhale, open that right leg out to the side. Take a moment here to breathe. And then we step back, warrior 2. We're stepping back with the right leg. We should end up with our left knee bent for our warrior 2. Let's open those arms out nice and wide. Take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Shifting into our Skandasana. So turn your left toes in as you straighten the leg. Turn the right toes out. Bend the knees. So you're moving towards the back of the mat. Come down into your Skandasana. Remember, this heel can lift. So if you lift and take that heel, you can often get a little bit more space. Take 2 breaths here. Either hands on or off the floor. Lovely. And then we're finding that transition. Remember, you might need to use your hands. We're going to come to sit down. That's it, hopefully without the legs moving. So try and bring the bum down. And then your left hand finds the floor behind you as we push. And I'm lifting up onto the ball of the right foot. Yeah, lovely. Really nice, deep breath in. And as you breathe out, bring the hips back down. Bring your legs together, face towards the top of your mat. We're in our Dandasana. We will repeat either our reverse tabletop or our reverse plank. So whichever one you feel more comfortable with. Either legs straight or knees bent. Drive down through the feet, push down through the hands. Holding here for 3, engage your glutes. For 2, for 1, lowering the hips back down. Let's try that little reverse here. So we bend the right knee and we open it out. So we have to do a little pivot. Keep turning towards the back of the mat, plant your hands down and rearrange your legs. So you're in a runner's lunge facing the back of the mat. Take a moment here just to check your legs are in a comfortable position. And then plant the palms. We step back, either high plank or hover that right foot. Take an inhale. Exhale. Downward dog. You could take a 3-legged dog there if you like. But when you're ready, meeting in downward dog. Stepping the left foot forward. High lunge facing the back of the mat. Take an inhale. Take an exhale. Turn towards your right, coming into your goddess squat. So have a little pivot of those feet. Bend those knees, slide your back down that imaginary wall. Pushing down through the feet, through the heels, glutes nice and strong. One more inhale. And one more exhale. Just as we did on the first side, we step to the top of the mat. See if we can bring the left thigh with us and arrive in that balance. And this time we'll let the left foot just gently step next to the right foot. We come back to Tadasana. Let's take a Vinyasa before we go for a second round. So breathing in, arms reach tall. Breathing out, fold forwards. Breathing in, halfway lift. Breathing out, plant the hands, step those feet back, high plank. Chaturanga as you lower down, knees can be on or off. Inhale, strong, press through the palms, Cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. So we're going to repeat that same sequence exactly as it was. We're just going to add a little bit extra onto the end. So we make the sequence just a bit longer on both sides. So starting at the top of the mat, let's bend both knees, look forward, step walk or do a little hop forward, and then rolling up to standing, shoulders back and down. So we're starting in our Stalk Pose. We'll be lifting the left leg. So bring the left leg into the chest, take the hands around the front of that shin. Really drive down through the standing leg. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, open that leg out to the side. And a nice gentle land into your warrior two. So plant that left foot to the back of the mat. Arms reach out wide, breathing in, breathing out. Inhale, we find Skandasana towards the back of the mat. So we're bending that left knee, sitting those hips down. Take one breath in once you arrive. And as you exhale, bring yourself down to seated. You can always reshuffle if you find yourself off the mat. And then right hand comes behind as we push down through the pelvis, finding our variation of our wild thing. Bringing those hips down, bringing the legs together to point towards the top of the mat. Either reverse plank or reverse tabletop. Just 2 breaths this time. 1 and 2. Lower the hips down. That same transition out, so bend your left knee, open it out to the side, keep turning towards the back of the mat, and arrange your left foot so you find your runner's lunge. Take an inhale, take an exhale. Now you could either take your one-legged plank, your regular plank, you could even take a Vinyasa here. Either way, we'll meet in downward dog, so any little extra adaptations you want to make, if you want to do an extra Vinyasa, but finding downward dog when you're ready. Good, and then we're stepping the right foot forward in between the hands. Coming up, high lunge facing the back of the mat. Take an inhale. Exhale, open out to the left, find your goddess squat. Bend those knees, bring those hips down. Good, checking in again with the inner arches of your feet. Your knees don't have to be pointing towards a specific toe because we're all made so differently. But we just want to ensure that our glutes are active and they're doing the best they can to keep those thighs nice and open. Good, one more deep breath in. As you breathe out, move towards the top of the mat and bring your right thigh in towards your chest. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Okay, so 2 options here. You're going to take another balance. You might feel comfortable taking your tree pose, bringing your right foot to the inside of the left leg. Second option would be to try a dancer's pose, which is a little bit more of a precarious position. And to do that one, we send the leg behind and we go for the inside of the foot. That just helps to keep the shoulder nice and open. And it's the action of the foot pressing into the hand that helps to separate the thighs here. It doesn't have to be a big movement. It might separate just kind of a foot or so. Your left arm, your other arm maybe reaches forward to help you. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Now from wherever you are, we're transitioning into warrior 3. So if you're in your dancer's pose, You might feel like a natural transition to release that foot and extend the leg. If you were in your tree pose, we just have to tip a little bit more as that right leg reaches back. Good, one more deep breath in. One more deep breath out. Coming back into warrior two, so drop your right foot down. Find your warrior two. Now we're going to do a little variation here, which is where we might need our brick. Now I'm going to place my brick on, I'm going to go for the medium height, just right in front of my foot. It could even be behind the foot, actually, that might be useful. So from your warrior two, we're bringing our left hand down onto that brick, and we're not staying with our legs here for too long, so we don't have to worry about what the legs are doing. I'm going to try and take a side plank by lifting this inside leg. So once your hand has found that brick, start to push so much weight into it that your left leg maybe starts to get a little bit lighter, and you might be able to scoop your left thigh in towards your body. Yeah. Really nice. Holding for 3, for 2, for 1. Good. Bring your hands all the way down. Move your brick out of the way. Step back. Downward facing dog. Take an inhale. Take an exhale. One more inhale. And exhale. Let's do all of that on the second side. So bending your knees, stepping, hopping to the top of the mat. Rolling yourself all the way up to standing when you're ready. Shoulders gently move back and down. Last time through this sequence on the other side. So we're lifting the right leg. Bring the hands to your shin as you squeeze that knee in. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, open that leg out to the side and gently step back. Warrior two, facing the long edge of the mat. Take an inhale and an exhale. Moving into your Skandasa. So inhale, shift through center. Exhale, we bend the right knee. So moving towards the back of the mat. Good, dropping down into your Skandasana. And then any aid with the hands that you need to come down to seated. The left hand is reaching behind. And we're pushing. So really think about the right hip. So driving that right hip up towards the ceiling. Good, lower those hips down. Swing your right leg around to meet your left. We find Dandasana and we take our last plank or our last reverse tabletop here. So driving down through the feet, getting those hips nice and high. So it's really good for the hamstrings and the glutes. And then lower them back down. Bring your right knee back in, peel that leg open. Keep turning towards the back of the mat to find your runner's lunge. Take a moment here to breathe in and breathe out. Just as we did on the first side, we're making our way back into down dog. How you get there is up to you. Could be a few breaths in a plank, could be a vinyasa, could be moving straight back to down dog if you prefer. Lovely. Left leg steps forward when you're ready. Inhale, high lunge facing the back of the mat. Exhale, goddess squat, turn yourself to the side and bend your knees. Last squat here of our class. Feel free to have a little sway side to side here if the knees feel okay with that. And then when you're ready, moving to the top of the mat and drawing your left knee in towards your chest. And here we add that little bit extra on. So your two balance options could be your tree pose, bringing your left foot to the inside of the thigh. Could be your dancer pose, holding onto the inside of your left leg as it reaches back and behind. If you're taking your dancer pose, try not to let your body tip forward. That is a nice variation to try, but it can be a bit disorientating if you're newer to the pose. So keep your core nice and strong. Take it a bit more of a back bend as you really push that left foot into the hand. Moving into warrior three. So whether you're in tree pose or you're here in dancer's pose, gently release that foot as you tip the body forwards a little bit more, looking for that connection between your heel and your head. Arms can do whatever they like. And then gently finding warrior two. Plant that left foot down. This is our brick variation. So you're going to grab your brick, place it either in front of your foot or behind your foot, somewhere that feels kind of useful. Remember, it's got 3 different heights. If you don't have a brick, you can just reach the hand to the floor. It's just a little bit trickier because it's a bit further to go. So when you're ready, reaching forward with the right hand, don't worry too much about your torso dropping down to the floor here because we're here for the side plank. Place as much weight as you can in the right hand. See if that allows your right leg to get a little bit lighter as you lift it away from the floor. Holding here for 3, for 2, for 1. Bring the foot back down and rotate down towards the floor. Move that brick out of the way. Stepping back, high plank. And this time, we're going to come straight into child's pose. So bringing those knees down, untucking the toes, pushing those hips back, finding your Malasana. And just as we did at the start of the practice, your knees could be together, your knees might be apart. Here for your child's pose. I'm going to stay for about 5 more breaths. Good, last few cycles of breath in your child's pose. And when you feel ready, finding yourself onto your hands and your knees, coming back into your tabletop position. And we're going to move into a pigeon pose from here. You could, it actually might be a little bit easier to move into it from a downward dog, or you can extend your left leg back, and that just gives you enough space to bring your right shin forward. So bringing our right knee towards the back of our right wrist. The ankle, most likely, the right ankle is going to be closer towards your body, and that's fine. Untuck your back toes and see if you can kind of scooch that leg a little bit further away. A couple of options that you could try for your pigeon pose. One would be staying up a little bit higher, which will bring your back into a little bit of extension, so coming into a little bit of a back bend. Or you could come down to the elbows, so you're in maybe more of a neutral spine. You could even lie all the way down, or grab a pillow or something to pop underneath your chest. Moving towards the end of our practice, so perhaps we can start to slow our breath down. Take some longer inhales, longer exhales, as we'll be in each pose for a little bit longer than we were through our kind of main flow sequence. Remember, in this stretch, we're wanting to find sensation in the outer hip. Our knee should feel neutral, so you really shouldn't feel any sensation at all in the knee. If you do find that you're getting pain or tension in your knee, see if you can either bring the front heel closer towards you, or you might sit more on your bum so that you're taking less weight through that knee. Last deep breath in here. Last deep breath out. If you were down on your elbows, just slowly bring yourself back up onto your hands. We're going to come to seated before we do the second side. So from here, sit onto your right bum so you can swing your legs around. We'll revisit that Dandasana briefly, but instead of our plank, we're going to come into our Paschimottanasana, our seated forward fold. So you might choose to have your legs kind of straight. You could also sit yourself up on something, or you might have a little bend in your knees. Any of those is absolutely fine. But when you're ready, start to creep your body forward. I'm drawing my toes and the tops of my feet back towards my shins. Find that gives me a much deeper stretch without having to kind of pull my body forward too much and kind of stress my back out. You can equally do this with relaxed feet, so if that works better for you, then please feel free to do so. Yeah, we're looking for that stretch down the back of the legs. Hands can rest on the floor, on the legs. You're more than welcome to grab the feet if you like. But that's not necessarily the goal of this pose. Okay, last 2 or 3 breaths. Okay, slowly bringing your body all the way back up. We're going to make our way onto the other side for our pigeon pose. So you might scooch your legs around to find your tabletop. For me, I'm just going to slide onto my left side and then actually kind of come into my pigeon pose from here. But that may or may not feel good for your knee. So remember, we're looking for that sensation in the outer left hip, definitely not the knee. So I always think in this pose, or just in general, knees are neutral. And you can stay on the hands if you like. You can come down onto the elbows. You can grab a prop to put underneath your chest, your forehead, your forearms, whichever. Maybe this is a point where you again start to notice your breath. Let's take 2 more rounds here. Okay, and then coming back up onto our hands, nice and slowly. Again, we'll come to seated, so sitting onto the left hip as you swing the legs around. We're finding a twist this time. So from this position here with your legs out in front, let's bend the right knee and place the foot onto the floor. You might choose to keep it here. You might choose to cross it over the leg. And that might depend on how it feels for your groin. So either one of those. I'm going to cross it over. And we're turning to the right, so we're turning towards the leg that's lifted. So for this one, let's bring the right hand behind. And you might use your arm to kind of hug that leg in. If you have a lot of rotation available in your body, you might be able to get your arm, your elbow kind of on the outside of your thigh. But I would rather that you kind of hang back a little bit and keep the chest space nice and open, as opposed to going for this and then kind of coming into like a squash position, because that's not going to be super beneficial for your neck. And with your head, you might choose to look behind you. You might choose to look over your left shoulder instead. Good, 1 more inhale. And as you exhale, just gently unwind. And just go straight to the second side, so release that right leg, take a moment here, and then left foot comes in. It either stays on the inside, or you might choose to cross it over. You might choose a different option from the first side as well. That's also totally fine. So left hand behind you this time, as the right arm finds that left leg. Finding that sense of length, so maybe we feel the belly button draw up towards the inside of your left thigh. Okay, 1 more inhale. And 1 more exhale, unwind and release those legs. Just send your hands behind you, give the thighs a little bit of a shake, or you can even bend the knees and give the legs a little bit of in and out. I'm going to come down to our back, just loosening off those legs. Okay, so finding yourself on your back, we'll do a little back bend and a twist before we finish. So we'll start with a bridge, and then if you do have a wheel pose in your practice and you would like to take it, you're more than welcome to do so. But to start with, for our bridge, we have feet on the floor, knees bent. about hip distance apart, but it doesn't have to be too specific. Hands down onto the mat. Take an inhale. As you exhale, press down through the feet. Let's lift the hips, driving up from the glutes. So our glutes are our main player here, glutes and hamstrings, to lift the hips and to come into this extension at the front of the pelvis. Okay, deep inhale. Exhale, lowering all the way back down. Do that one more time. Inhale at the bottom. Exhale, press down through the feet. Lift the hips. Find your bridge. Good. And then lowering down to the mat. If you would like to take a full wheel and your body feels ready for that and it's kind of normally, normally in your practice, then you can absolutely do so. Otherwise, we can take a third round of our bridge pose. To get a little bit more into the chest, we might choose to interlace the fingers and draw the shoulders underneath the chest, just to get that little bit of elevation. But as we're doing that, we're not letting the bum drop down towards the floor, so we still want to keep those hips engaged. Good, one more inhale. Exhale, releasing the hands, coming down to the mat, coming out of wheel if you were in wheel. And just take a moment in this neutral position, especially if you did go into wheel, just to let your spine come back from that deep back bend. And then when you're ready, we bring the knees into the chest, give them a nice big squeeze. I'm going to finish with a twist. If there is a specific twist that you know your body likes to take, you're more than welcome to find that twist. I'm going to keep my thighs stacked on top of each other and just let them drop over to the right hand side of the mat, taking my arms out to the side. You can use props if you want to put a cushion or something in between or underneath both legs. Feel free to do so. Maybe the eyes gently close. And then when you're ready, let's guide those legs back to the middle, back to center. We take our twist on the second side. Any twist is fine, whatever kind of works. Hands can also rest anywhere, they don't have to be out wide. Okay, when you feel ready, bring your legs back to center. Just take a few moments to check that you're kind of comfortable, that you're happy. If there's any last little movements your body feels like it needs to take, if you want to do a big full body stretch, if you want to do a hip opener to finish, any or none of the above. Just take the next few moments to settle. We'll be moving into Shavasana. So once you do feel like you've taken any last little adjustments, we start to find our position for our Shavasana. Now that might be lay down on your back with your legs kind of just reaching out to the edges, feet falling out. One option that can feel nice for the lower back is to bend the knees and let them collapse in towards each other with the feet on the floor. And once we've found a shape that we're happy with, that we feel comfortable in, take a moment to pause, close the eyes. We take a full inhale. Feel the lungs and the belly inflate, and then a nice big exhale out through the mouth. Try that one more time, breathing in and breathing out. So we'll be here for the last few minutes of the practice. By all means, if you have longer in your day and you want to take maybe 10-15 minute Shavasana, you can absolutely stay here for as long as you need. Just noticing the stillness, noticing the weight of the body into the floor. Enjoy your Shavasana.